pô.
Não, ainda é que se fosse pra passar 22 minutos vendo, escutando a voz do Phil Spencer sem imagens, seria aterrorizante.
Ai, caramba. Eu já coloquei pra gravar, tá? Já tá ao vivo aí,
Ok.
pô.
Ixi,
Salve, salve.
Salve, salve,
eu não
pô.
vou
Tem
salvar ninguém, não.
apresentação?
Só Jesus salva.
O Xbox você tem que se salvar aqui, primeiramente, né?
Não,
Vamos
só
ver.
Jesus
Xbox.
salva.
O Tiff colocou na live dele que é o fim do Xbox, pô. Então a coisa
Acabou,
tá
galera.
feia, pô. Play. Se tiver muito
Sonistas
alto.
Assemble.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox
Ai,
podcast.
cara, tá
I'm
mais
your
alto do que
host,
eu
Tina
acho.
Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Game Pass. And we want to talk about hardware too and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December,
Será que ele vai falar que ele tava jogando Diablo
probably would have
4?
started with Activision
Espero que
Blizzard,
sim.
maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So let's just go and tackle the
I feel like a
exclusivity
fake
question,
news.
because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games. Not a
Só?
change to our kind of
Só.
fundamental exclusive strategy.
Não precisa de mais do que
We're
isso.
making these decisions for some specific reasons.
Aposto que um deles é Sea of
We make
Thieves,
every
mano.
decision
Ia falar Sea of
really with the
Stars.
long-term health of Xbox in mind. And
Starfield.
long-term health of
Não, acho que
Xbox
Starfield
means
não.
growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform
Vai ser jogo
for
service, será?
creators.
Eu acho que ele
Reaching
vai
as
levar
many
jogo
players
service.
as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team.
Tem Dash no
And to
PlayStation?
grow, and we think this is an
Destiny?
interesting point in time for
Tem,
us
Destiny
to
2?
tem.
use
A
what
Band
some
é
of the
da
other
Dash,
platforms
da
have right
Dash, né?
now,
PlayStation,
to
pô.
help grow our franchises.
Comprou a
So we're gonna
Band.
do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that
Achava
are
que era
building
da
those
Activision.
games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out,
Ok.
É.
it'll make sense.
O cara não vai
Can we
falar,
say
né?
if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana
Ele nem
Jones?
se
They
trabalha
are
apenas.
not
Oh, pera,
Starfield
calma.
or Indiana Jones.
Não é
Well,
Starfield.
what was the criteria
Ah, vai ser jogo
and
service
how
então,
the
né?
team
Sea
was
of
thinking
Thieves?
about
Sea of
selecting those 4
Thieves.
titles?
Let
Será
me
que
start
aquele é
a little bit
o
outside
Hyper
of that, and
tá?
then I'll get to the 4
Então, esse
specific
daí
games that we're
eu
talking
acho que
about right
pode ir
now.
também.
'Cause
É o que tá mais forte, né? O Sea of
fundamental
Thieves e
decision
o Hi-Fi
driver
Rush.
for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today,
Por que
is
ele
the
passou
long-term health
22
of
minutos
Xbox.
falando então?
That we're running a growing
Ele é
platform that is reaching more players.
um CEO,
that our
cara. Ele
games
sabe
are
falar.
having as much success as
Ele sabe
possible.
enrolar o meu tempo,
And
né?
I do have a
Toma,
fundamental
isso
belief
aí
that
que eu
over the
adoro,
next 5
ó,
to 10
imagens aí.
years,
Coloca uma
exclusive
gameplay de
games,
tempo
games that are
de
exclusive to one piece
Subway
of
Money.
Subway
software
Surfers aí pra
are going to be a
assistir.
smaller
Subway
and smaller
Money.
part of the game industry. And that's not some great
Tá
insight,
pagando,
because if
pô,
you
tá
look at the
pagando.
last 10 years
Subway Money
and what the biggest
multiplataforma aí.
games are today, it's a natural place,
Subway
whether it's
Money pra
one console
PlayStation
and
5.
PC, multiple consoles, mobile consoles,
Não,
Ai.
exclusivo do
you
Xbox.
see big games landing on multiple platforms. And we
Pra
want to
quem fica
be
falando que o
a
Xbox não
great
tem exclusivo
platform
aí.
Verdade.
for
Pô, esse daí nem
creators
precisa de
who are
outro,
trying
pô.
to realize that potential. But
É
now
ele
back
e o
to the
jogo da
specifics
Peppa.
of the question on these four specific titles. We looked
Eu acho
at
que o Xbox
games
tinha que
that
lançar o
are
Tigrinho
over
como
a year
exclusivo
old.
de Xbox.
So they've been on Xbox and
Imagina.
PC for a
Nossa,
while.
mas Subway Money versus
A
Tigrinho.
couple
Pô.
of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, I'd say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business
O
and
que
great
que
for the
é
community.
community
More
driven
players to
Xbox
play.
além de Sea of Thieves?
I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller
Boa pergunta.
games that were never really meant to be built as kind of
Call of Duty
platform
agora.
exclusives and all the fanfare
Hi-Fi
that goes
Rush?
around that. but games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across
Call
our
of Duty,
studios
The
and
Elder
the
Scrolls,
artists of
todos esses
SOCIAIS.
jogos aí são community driven.
And as they've realized their
são
full potential on
Microsoft.
Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games,
Roubar
allowing
dinheiro
us
de sonista aí.
to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there.
Right.
So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not.
Cara,
And
isso
we're
é
gonna
forte
learn.
demais.
So
Ele
when you are thinking
precisou
about the
de
future and this
22
concept of live
podcast,
service
talvez?
games,
Aham.
games that can benefit from
Acho que
bigger
dá pra resumir num
audiences
tweet,
and new
tipo.
audiences,
Sim.
how does that apply to future
Mas o
titles and
Twitch
how
não
you're
gera
planning
O cara é um
tanto
marqueteiro,
engajamento.
né?
Ah,
Yeah, there's
gera
really
sim,
no
pô.
fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show, where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them
jogo primeira
accessible
pessoa,
to
foi isso, hein?
hundreds of millions of
Foi.
people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there. But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy for years and will continue to be. Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that. Xbox is a hardware platform, Xbox is a publisher of great games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
And then knowing that, how do we think about our first-party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that really
Roblox maior
has
que
changed the
Xbox
way that we
confirmado.
think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day 1. And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting points for us.
Acabou o Game Pass no
As Phil
PlayStation?
mentioned, there are
Acabou.
games
Mas a Sony
today
não
that you can
quis.
play that only can be found on
Por isso
Xbox.
que acabou.
Ele não
And at
ofereceu?
the same time,
Ele ofereceu.
we
Eu
want
lembro
to
que no
bring
podcast eu
more
falei
of
que
our
eles tinham
games to more
vendido,
players.
sabe?
So we're
Mas
gonna
no caso era de
continue
vender a
to
ideia,
look at
né?
that.
Aham.
Kind of
Ah, é que
moving
ele tá
aside,
falando
though,
como se
from
fosse,
some of
fosse
those
escolha
and thinking
deles,
more
não
about what does it
Uhum.
mean for the player.
Acho que vocês
To
estavam
me, the
oferecendo.
two key things are
Ah, não, mas depois que os
cross-play
caras
and cross-save.
recusou, o
Não.
plano
Those
que eles
things
têm em
allow
mente aí
us
vai
to
que fica
deliver
maior,
on
né?
the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move
Se não me engano,
across
essa
all
mulher
those
aí que tá
parts.
entre eles
So
é
not all of our
CEO
games
da
today
Blizzard, ou
are
é da
necessarily
Activision
built to take
Blizzard.
advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't.
Ah, aquela
as we
mulher?
bring
É.
more teams into the Xbox
A nova
family, there's some
presidente.
catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so
Presidenta.
fundamental to what we're doing, and
Presidenta.
I think is something that we as
O-
First Party get
acho
such
que
a
ela
good
mesmo.
benefit
O
from being so
manda-chuva
close to the platform.
do
Yeah,
Overwatch é daquele
absolutely.
cara
And
lá?
that's one of the things,
É.
like
O
you
Jeff
said,
Kelly lá.
Não,
all
esse
of
já
our
saiu.
games are
O
always in
Armageddon
Game
saiu.
Pass.
Caramba.
And so I'm excited to announce, with the coming together that we
Claro.
had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super
Olha,
excited to
ainda
share
bem que eu não
today.
gastei nem
Anunciado?
um centavo
And
com
it's
esse
all
jogo.
part
Ou
of our
não?
commitment to
Não,
make
não tinha não.
the Xbox experience
Eu
and
quero
the
saber de
games that we
COD.
build as widely available as possible. So now the
Menos
34
lógico.
million Game Pass members can all enjoy the fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing. Can we come back to the point,
Quem vai fazer uma
Phil, you
partida de
Não
mentioned
querer
that
Diablo
jogar
the time
comigo
Diablo
isn't
quatro?
really
Com
a
certeza.
change in strategy.
Já tô
Can you
baixando aqui.
recap for me
Eu não sei
how
se tá
it
sendo
isn't?
irônico.
Não, eu
And
quero.
I thought
Ah,
Não, então a gente vai
both
jogar
Matt and
Diablo
Sarah
4.
did a really
Correção
nice
é
job
outra
talking
pessoa.
about what we're doing on Xbox,
é a
where
Johanna,
we're going.
que é a presidente da Blizzard.
If you
Essa é o quê?
take a
Essa é a
platform
do
fee like
Xbox.
Xbox Play
A Sarah
Anywhere,
Bond.
which has been a
Ela
promise
é
that
filha
we've
do James
made on our
Bond.
first-party
Caramba.
games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to get to play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the
Pô,
only
que eles
platform
façam
that
isso
does
antes
this.
do final de
That makes it
março, pô. Ainda
possible
tem o
for
Game
you
Pass.
not
né?
only to play with your
Yep.
friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology
falou a
I'd love
data
to
lá.
see applied to more platforms.
Era
28 de
28 de alguma
But it
coisa.
is
Aí é
this
foda, porque já
março.
acabou.
that people are going to play
Aí
Xbox
acabou já
in
meu Game
multiple
Pass.
places. Whether it's play the games you want with the people you
Agora o
want,
rádio tá
anywhere
prestando
you
atenção no
want,
que ele tá falando.
whether it's content community in cloud,
quê?
whether it's when everybody
As
plays, we
imagens
all
aí.
win. Like we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view.
Ah, não
that
adianta
Xbox
colocar a imagem
is
se
a
for esse papo de
platform
bosta
for
que eles vão
creators
fazer.
who want to reach
Tô
the
falando de
most
celular, pô. Tô falando de jogar no
players.
celular.
Our
É.
investments in
Esse cara é um
xCloud, our
marqueteiro.
investments in
Foi
Sim,
ele
franchises
que
cara.
like
implantou
Minecraft
esses,
and now Call of
esses
Duty
rumores
and
aí
other
pra
large
todo mundo assistir
franchises
essa
so we
merda.
can
Eles falando
learn
de
how to
jogar
build
Game Pass no
those.
celular.
This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade.
Mas é útil pra caramba, cara.
It's not
Eu vou
about one
comprar.
device. It's
Então.
not about games in service
Eu
of a
entendo.
device, but rather the devices that people
Mas
want to
é porque
play on should
seu,
be in service of making the
seu
games as big and
Motorola
popular as
J6
they
não
possibly
roda
could
o
be.
Game Pass?
Because really, a healthy creator
Porque fica
community on
travando,
Xbox,
pô,
a
no
healthy
jogo em
creator
nuvem, pô.
community and gaming all up,
O problema
is
não
the
é
thing
meu,
that
não é
all
meu
of us as
J6. O
game
problema é que não tem
players should be
servidor de
building
Game
for,
Pass em chique
because
chique.
that's the thing that will lead to
Caralho, é
best long-term
verdade.
success and growth in this industry.
And my understanding, just from
Ninguém
listening and
usa
learning
Game
from
Pass
you
na
three
favela.
over the past few weeks, just understanding what's happening with Xbox, is that we see trends with player behavior where people are playing on multiple devices. That is the reality. And we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's
Vídeo
been
de
good for
22
players. How does
minutos que
that
podiam
come
ter
back to
sido
the
no Twitch.
business with all of that in mind?
Uma thread.
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped
Pô, acho
games
que
on
cabia
other
num só.
platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with
Só vamos
the
vender
addition
4
of
jogos pro
Activision,
PlayStation.
Blizzard, and ZeniMax,
Acabou, galera.
we're
Agora
one of the
deixa eu jogar meu
largest
Diablinho.
game publishers on PlayStation.
Era
We're
só
one of the
isso.
largest publishers on the
Joguem
Nintendo Switch,
Xbox.
especially when you put Minecraft
Joguem Game Pass no
into the
celular.
equation as
Enfim.
well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's
Não,
not
depois de ter
something
comprado a Bethesda é
that we
fácil,
want to
né?
back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of
Que
people
é
can
Bethesda?
love.
Ah, o...
Não é que eu tô
And that
falando
they can play
que
those games where
é
they
uma das
wanna
maiores
go play.
editoras aí de
But we
pra
do
PlayStation e
understand the
Nintendo.
business success that
É que ele
Xbox
foi de
has to
celular.
have.
Não, que ele tá, agora tá
Us
falando de
as
outra coisa.
leaders in this business,
Então.
the system today, the system
Que
that
jogo de da
all
Bethesda de
companies that we
celular?
play
Que
video
é tipo
games from
Fallout?
is a world
Fallout
of you
Shelter?
gotta
É,
be
o Fallout
growing your
Shelter
business.
tem o...
Growth in our
aquele
Xbox
Elder Scroll
business is
maluco lá
critical
zoado.
to the long-term health of Xbox.
Tem um
Many
diabo.
people know I've been on
que todo mundo
Xbox for
odeia.
Ah, eu
20
tô ligado, eu
years,
joguei ele
and
com
I
ele.
want to make sure Xbox is in the
Você
best
jogou?
position.
Você
to
jogou no
grow
celular
company.
ou jogou
Aham.
no
That
emulador?
means
Não,
healthy
ele
player
tem versão pra
community,
PC
healthy
também.
creator
Eu
community,
joguei no celular.
and
Eu
healthy
joguei no
business.
PC.
Jogou no
So when we look at
J6?
opportunities to allow more people
Não,
to
não.
play,
No K10
Like
more
Shadow
aí.
Legends.
people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a
Infelizmente não
critical
consigo
component of
jogar
that.
aqui
The
no meu
absolute
Samsung
best
Pocket.
experience somebody has on Xbox is hardware that
Yeah.
your team builds
Mhm.
and that people play on. But that's not going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming, and in a lot of ways it was. There was some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we
Sabe que eu
wanted
já
to
baixei
look at
Genshin
the future
Impact
of
no meu celular?
Xbox and how we kind of
E
keep
não
up with
pegou
the
fogo?
industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think
Foda.
it's,
Foda.
as people
Não,
who care
que
about
é
games,
uma
and
merda
roda,
jogar.
roda,
people who are
mas
watching this,
fica aí
Roda
a
igual aquele
temperatura.
vídeo lá do
some
Lone
great
Gameplays, né?
launches,
Do
some of
tá
the games that I think
travando
will
um
stand the test
pouco.
of time and people will be talking about a decade from now.
Aí
But
o
it's an
rádio que é o
industry that didn't
culpado aí
really
de estar tão
grow.
calor no
Não
Brasil.
pegou
pô.
feio, mas
And
tava
what
feio.
happens when an industry
Não pegou
doesn't
fogo, mas
grow,
tava feio, no caso.
you end up
E
with
aquele jogo é
some
bonito?
job eliminations, which we had. We had even our
Não.
own hard decisions to
É,
make
não.
about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to
Me dá
feel like this
emprego,
is a
filho.
place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of
Tô
an
aceitando
industry
emprego do
that
Phil
is
Spencer.
growing. If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2024, but if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices
Esse
on
vídeo
how do you
já
grow the
devia ter
industry.
acabado, eu acho.
Do you say
Também
I
é.
have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I
Acho
find
que não
new
precisava nem
ways
ter
to
começado.
monetize those players to
Podia
get
ter
more
ficado
money
só no
Ah,
Twitch
from the
mesmo.
então, se
players that I have?
começou,
Or do
tem
you
que
think
devia ter,
about how do I
pelo menos
expand
podia
the
ter acabado
business I
já.
have? by
Acho que a gente
finding
passou da
new
metade.
players and
Acabando
adding
esse
those
assunto.
to the base of players
Qual que
that
é o
already
próximo?
play. Our focus on
Não,
Xbox
sem
for
spoiler
the last
aqui.
decade has really been on that latter
Ah,
point
que isso, cara.
of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players,
Esse é o
growing
assunto,
for
sério?
our creators,
Não, esse é
so
o que
those
ele tá
people are
finalizando.
finding
O assunto
success
tá ali.
Ah,
on
tá.
our platform, which will grow the Xbox business and put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to come.
Matt, earlier you were talking
Xbox
about these growing gaming
Two
communities,
confirmado?
how they're incredibly large, and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth
Tem
of gaming
Roblox no
communities.
Xbox?
How has that
Tem.
actually shown up for the
Deve
players?
ter.
Are there
Saiu pra
other
console.
games we can speak
Tem
to from
também.
our portfolio?
Well, as Phil
Tem
mentioned,
no
I mean,
Switch?
two of the biggest ones for us,
Aí
Call
já
of Duty
é
and Minecraft, I
uma
mean, they are
questão aí, viu?
driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so
Tem
great.
pra
I think,
mobile.
think about it
Deve
for the
tá chegando pro Switch
player,
semana
Mas é
que
que
the
vem.
não,
community,
não
it
surgiu
comes
do
down
mobile?
to where are the friends, where are the
Não,
people
cara, o
you play
Não.
Roblox
with,
é
and then
antigaço. O Roblox
equally
é de.
important
Pô, o
is
Roblox é de.
where
Eu
have you
jogava
built up
Roblox em
your
2009,
library
pra
of
você ter
Não,
uma
então,
noção.
mas
where's
não
the
começou
where
no
have you
celular?
invested? Where's that
Não, eu
library?
jogava
I
no
think
Os celulares de
those
2009
two
não tá
things
com
probably
Hum.
are some of the biggest
Celulares
influences on
definitivamente
where
não tocava
people
Roblox.
choose to play and what devices they choose to
Absolutely.
play.
Eu acho que em
When we
2009 você
think
tinha o
about
J6 mesmo.
on the other side, the developer side,
Não, eu tinha um
just
Pocket.
Eu
any
tinha um
game developer
multilaser.
wants their game to find the biggest
tinha
audience
um-
possible. That's just the
sei lá.
nature of building a game. You want people to
Multilaser com
enjoy and
canetinha, pô.
participate in what
Eu
you've
tinha um
made.
iPhone
Na real, não,
And
eu
I
5S.
think
tinha
we're
eu tinha
in
um
a unique
Nokia, que era do
position
meu pai, a gente
to
tinha.
deliver on that just because we are
Era
the
o Nokia
platform, we
Windows?
build hardware, we've got a first
Não,
party
era
games
antes.
group, and then we've got a
Jogava um
system that
joguinho de
ties
Sonic
that
muito
together,
legal.
that brings together
Nokia
your
joguei.
Windows não é
friends,
bem
your
depois?
progression, your achievements,
É,
all
um
of
pouco
that.
depois,
I
viu?
think
Não tão
that's
velho,
really
mas
what
não
has
tão novo.
contributed to the
2010
momentum
já
behind some
tinha.
of these communities.
No GTA
Yeah,
V,
absolutely. I mean, when you look
o
at
Trevor
just
tem um
Era o
step
Nokia.
Lumia,
back
não
and
é?
you look at the history
É.
of the industry,
Lumia.
we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like
Não
crossplay,
tem Roblox no Switch.
cross-progression,
2011.
the things that we're doing with cloud. How do
Pelo
we
menos o
actually
Lumia.
give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Pal World. You know, Pal World was able to launch, they were game
Citaram o Pal,
preview,
mano.
they launched in Game Pass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam.
Tem que
So
vender
the
o
combination
peixe
of those
deles, né?
things, you know, Pocket Pair was able to have
que é
this
Pocket Pair?
outsized success, and it
Na
was the
empresa que fez
largest
o.
third-party
É,
Game
a
Pass
Pocket
launch
Pair é a
ever.
empresa, aham.
And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview, we have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of
Coin.
Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers
Me
can
chamou?
build the specs of our
Sim.
hardware,
Quando
and
você
we
joga no
invest
cloud,
to
você
make
pega
sure they
fila?
know when they do that, the
Pega.
games are going to
Meia
go
horinha?
great on our hardware,
Não.
but they're also going to
Depende do
be
jogo.
able to be accessed across
Ah, depende do
any
jogo?
screen,
Não depende
any
do horário,
screen,
não?
because
Assim,
of all the other
eu não
investments we
sei.
make. So we're giving them an
Porque
easy way to
na
access
época
as
que eu fui
many
jogar o Cocum,
players
eu
as
tava
possible.
jogando o
And
Sea
we
of Stars ao
actually have
mesmo
more
tempo.
creators right
Aí
now
eu
building
entrei na fila do Sea
for
of Stars,
Xbox than ever
tava
before. By
40
nature,
minutos.
thousands of them, by
Eu entrei
nature
na
of
fila
those
do Cocum, tava
investments.
5
And
minutos.
we got more to come.
Nossa.
There's some
Então,
exciting
talvez
stuff coming
seja
out with hardware.
horário e
We're
jogo.
going to share this
Mas eu
Engraçado.
holiday.
não sei
We're
informar
also
direitinho, não.
invested
Pode não ter
in
a
the
ver
next
com uso.
generation roadmap.
Quando eu
What we're
joguei
really
o
focused on there
Star
is
Wars
delivering
Jedi
the
Fallen
largest
Order, eu não peguei
technical
fila em
leap
nenhum
we'll have
momento.
ever seen in
jogou
a
quando?
hardware generation, which makes it better for
2022?
players and
Mas
better for
tinha-
creators
Final de
and the
2022.
visions that they're
Não, Não, qualquer horário,
And
de
then when we're
noite,
talking about
Dezembro?
tarde,
hardware
noite,
too,
aham.
there's these other considerations
Não,
that are really
mas
important to our community, probably to
reza a
each
lenda
one of
que, tipo
ourselves
assim,
as
se for uma
well.
época que a
When
galera tá,
you
tipo,
talk
fora
about
de casa,
library,
tipo, uma
because I
época
want to dig in on
festiva,
that a little bit
a fila
more.
diminui.
You know, as we talk about cloud
É
in the
engraçado,
wider
porque
entertainment industry,
deveria
there's
ser ao contrário,
conversations
né?
about streaming. How is
Porque
that
as
Não, assim,
crianças estão
impacting
de
how
férias.
I own my content that
é
I've
que
E
invested
por
in?
ser
So
nuvem,
cloud
você
é
não
what can we
coisa de
precisa do
say
velho.
about our
console.
stance around game preservation?
É que cloud é coisa
Yeah,
de velho.
you know,
eu acho.
one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on
Pra
stage when we
criança não
Na
tá
announced
época
jogando
que eu fui
Xbox
jogar,
no
tava nas
celular.
coming
férias.
to Xbox One. Like, it was
Não,
fantastic.
férias.
People were reading the
Férias
teleprompter
de
before I could
julho?
read it.
Não, foi férias do final do ano
And
passado.
just feeling the energy
Não, sei-
in the
não,
in
é
the
que, é que eu
in
vi,
the
vi um post no
auditorium as we were
TikTok do
saying that
cara
and
falando
online.
assim, que era
You
algum
know, one of
feriado
the
assim, tipo,
cues I
feriado que a
think
galera
us as
ia
being
pra
part of
praia e o
Microsoft
cara tava
take
falando que tinha,
is
tipo
looking at
assim, férias
Windows
de julho, férias
and
de
how
dezembro, eu não sei,
Windows
só que assim,
over
época
decades
de
has
feriadão que a galera viaja, esse que a galera
maintained
viaja.
software
Aham.
compatibility
Tipo
with
assim,
things that are built on
de
it.
carnaval
Like, I
deve
can
ficar com
still
menos
go
fila.
back and play some of the games that I love playing on
Acho que
Windows from
nesses
decades
casos.
ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems
Yeah.
to try to keep the
Fala.
services up as
Biblioteca
long
de
as we can
jogos
so
e a
that people can
preservação.
play is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations
Vamos
and what we're going to
retrocompatibilidade.
support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that
Isso
people
eu acho
have made in
interessante.
Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and
Tipo,
Xbox also means you have the ability
conseguir
to play
jogar
that
jogos
game
velhos.
across a multitude of
Não
Eu
devices.
acho isso
precisa
importante.
necessariamente
I think
ser no
furthers the
Xbox, mas
compatibility
tipo assim,
of
tipo, no
games that you
PC.
Can we go back to what
A
Xbox
forma de se
stands for today? I think
preservar
Cadê
os
no
we
Dino
jogos, né?
Crisis
covered
3
all
pra
of the
PC?
elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You
Isso
know,
daí eu
when
acabo
you
com quem
play on
esquecer, pô.
Xbox, what we're saying is you're
Quem,
playing on a
quem
platform
tem o
where
poder
you
de
know
trazer ele
the
pra
biggest
qualquer
games
outra
in the
coisa é a
world are
Capcom, né?
always going to
É.
be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards
Quanto
compatibility,
cross?
being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you know you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are. And I think most importantly, Xbox is a place where you know when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful and
É engraçado
creators more
que no
successful,
Brasil, tipo, todo
so
esse
that they
papo
can
não cola,
invest
não.
more to bring even better experiences
Mas
for you
você vai
all
jogar
the
um jogo
time.
no cloud aí,
Yeah,
40
and
minutos
just
de fila.
that investment in
Porra.
the studios is so, and we feel that as part of first party with the platform proximity. You know, it's kind of amazing now to look out across all the studios that we've got and just be reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff. Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones
Avowed.
game. And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming up pretty soon.
Well, I
Ó, o
guess I should get
showcase em
ready
junho.
to look on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this
Ah,
June.
foi rápido.
Ó, é podcast, hein?
Thank you.
Foi rápido, pô.
Não, e assim.
Pareceu que eu tô
vocês
há 30 minutos escutando esse cara falando.
Mas foi quase 30 minutos mesmo.
É,
Mas o Radiohead tava reclamando no começo, falando que. O Radiohead, você também reclamaram que que não ia falar os jogos. Mas aí é na parte de business do Xbox, né?
sim.
Não ia sair jogo dessa
Não. É
dessa
que
conferência.
eu achei que eles iam citar os 4 jogos, né? Que ia sair. Tá? Pelo menos esse eu acho até válido, mas realmente, anúncio de novos jogos que eles vão trazer realmente não faz sentido, não.
Não, e como é parte de business, eu achava que eles não iam nem citar jogos. Como eles fizeram na maior parte do podcast.
Especialistas em
Porra nenhuma.
Xbox
Ah,
aí,
tá.
o que tirando Sea of Thieves, que jogo de serviço que não tá no PlayStation, que é da Xbox, poderia ser? Powered?
A Word não
Não é.
tem no PlayStation,
Não
mas
é
não é um
do-
exclusivo de Xbox.
Não é
Não é da
exclusivo, é.
Xbox.
Só conseguiram um acordo, né, pra ter ele no Game Pass.
Não faço ideia. Inclusive, eu não joguei, não pretendo jogar Power.
Não vou, não.
Minecraft Dungeons tem?
No Game Pass?
Não, no Game Pass tem, né? Porque é da Microsoft, mas.
No
Eles não,
PlayStation, tá
eles
falando?
não, eles já não terminaram, tipo...
Minecraft no PlayStation.
Não,
Tem?
Minecraft tem.
Não, Minecraft no PlayStation
Minecraft Dungeons
tem.
não tem.
Não tem no PlayStation 5 porque eu lembro de um negócio que não tinha no 5.
Deixa eu ver. Vou procurar aqui.
Tem.
Tem,
Minecraft Dungeons
tem.
tem. Tem um outro Minecraft?
Ah, esse é o Story
Minecraft-
Mode da
Tem
Telltale.
Minecraft, tem o Minecraft, tem o Minecraft Dungeons, tem o Minecraft. O outro, mano,
O último que
é.
saiu.
Um que é o azul, que é azul. Eu acho que esse daí já até acabou, mano. Minecraft, alguma coisa. Deixa eu ver aqui. Era o que ia ser tipo um RTS, assim, alguma coisa assim, mas aí
Minecraft.
flopou legal. Ninguém nunca joga.
Minecraft Legends.
Isso, esse aí.
Talvez um Microsoft
Flopou?
Flying Simulator.
Flopou legal esse Legends aí. Se eu não me
Mas-
engano, eles já até terminaram isso.
Microsoft Flight Simulator vende coisa?
Ah, mas.
A
Tem como comprar
comunidade do
alguma coisa?
emulador, até onde eu sei, a comunidade de emulador desse jogo aí é. Assim,
Emulador. Simulador.
é, simuladores. É porque em inglês é emulator.
Uhum.
Mas pra um tão nichado assim, eu acho até ok. Não é tão
Ah,
fraco,
mas tem
não.
como comprar coisa dentro do jogo? Do Flight Simulator?
Eu acho que
Acho
não
que
faço ideia,
não.
nunca abri.
Ah, talvez DLC. Eu também nunca abri não esse jogo. Nem quero
Deve
também, pra
ter.
falar a verdade. Aí chegou agora uma DLC de Duna pra ele.
Ah, eu acho que tem vários DLCs mesmo.
Talvez Forza.
Compras em aplicativo.
Nossa, mas eu acho que a PlayStation não deveria. Não, acho que
Forza
não,
no PlayStation?
não aceita Forza não, por causa de Gran Turismo.
Não, e eu
Acho
acho
que
que.
não.
Eu acho que perde força no Play.
Hi-Fi Rush.
No coisa.
Ela não descartou Hi-Fi
Hi-Fi
Rush,
Rush
né?
não é jogo de
Hi-Fi
serviço.
Rush. Não tem, mas. Tipo, a galera tá falando tanto que desse Hi-Fi Rush que eu ia achar estranho se ele não fosse.
E se você
Então,
cair, se
também.
você tiver caído numa fake news?
Todo dia eu caio numa fake news.
Pois
Na
é, pode estar caindo
internet,
em
até
mais uma.
nesse Discord. Eu tô caindo numa fake news agora.
Não, você
Ó,
sempre
eu
tá caindo.
passei 22 minutos caindo numa fake news do Xbox.
É isso.
E vai cair em mais, pô. É tranquilo.
Sempre.
Não, é
Calma.
porque, tipo, sei lá, você tem o Sea of Thieves, que é o mais certo aí. Até o tweet que eles fizeram lá, meio enigmático, dava a entender isso. Talvez algum jogo que eles vão anunciar, tirando dos que
Não,
já
o
tem
quê?
anunciado, né? Porque eles falaram que ia
Hellblade
ter
tem pra
10 jogos.
PlayStation?
Tem, o primeiro tem.
Hellblade 2.
O 2 não, né?
O 2 nem
O 2
saiu
nem
ainda.
Quer dizer,
saiu, pô.
não tem anúncio, desculpa.
Não, né? Porque
Anúncio.
é
Não.
do Xbox. Exclusivo.
Não, então vai que sai Hellblade pra
Não,
PlayStation. Não
ele
tem
falou
sentido,
que
não.
os grandes não vão sair, pô. Indiana Jones não vai sair, Starfield não vai sair, Hellblade não vai sair. Porque Hellblade é de um estúdio da Xbox, pô. Eles compraram o estúdio do Hellblade.
Não
Então
tem
eu acho que
ideia.
single player não sai. Talvez algum jogo da Blizzard que possa
É que
sair.
não tem mais multiplayer.
Então, mas é o que eu falei, pô. Talvez algum jogo que eles ainda vão anunciar. Aí vai ter que esperar o showcase deles em junho. Pra ver o que rola. É isso então, podemos finalizar aqui.
É isso.
Sim.
Tem muito mais pra onde ir, não. Agora é esperar até junho e a gente fica falando abobrinha no podcast até chegar o momento, pô.
Ok.
Beleza? Então vou desligar aqui. Tchau.
Falou.